I'm already an hour into this. Um, so yeah, real quick to BTE. So you had during uh what's his name? Christopher Daniels doing a 50 over 50 by doing 50 reps of of lifting weights. Um, Hangman comes out and he talks to Brandon and telling him to talk to the Bucks for him, and that he realizes that he's a piece of shit and that FTR got in his head and that he fucked up and that he's sorry and he apologizes, and that if he can relay the message over to the Bucks since they don't want to speak to him. And then I loved it how they end the bit where they're like, where he's like, "Is that 50 by 50 bit? Was that good?" And he's like, "Nah, it was shit." That's cool. I was kind of looking in the back because I don't know who it is. There's some girl that like walks like behind them, and then later you see Mark Quinn going behind with his phone too, and he walks like in the same direction as she does. So I was thinking that there was gonna be like a bit that like they came back together or something like after, but apparently there was nothing there. So then of course they cut to the speaking Spanglish section got changed into a commercial for the Me phone instead of the iPhone with Vicky Guerrero and what's her name? Diana Anais, one of the new Spanish speaking wrestlers. Where they're showing them. One of my favorite parts is that she's like, I have beef with one of my homegirls, and it's like, now directing you to the Shank store. And then same with Vicky Guerrero, where she's like, I'm having beef with my man, and they're like, oh, we're sending him a 6-pack of 40s, and we're booking you a spa day. So I love those segments too. Those segments are always funny. Then they cut to one of my favorite parts of the episode, the Dark Order trying to recruit MJF because they walk by his door and they see his poster. So they go in there and they only find Warlord by himself without a shirt. So then they start awkwardly giving him compliments. And I love in the comments, they were like, I never figured that the breakup between MJF and Warlord would be because the Dark Order was trying to recruit him. But he's like in there and they're like, oh no, we're not here looking for your sidekick. We're looking for you. And he's just like, oh, me? Okay. So then they have him, they're over there talking about that they want a piece of him and they want to eat him up and that he's a snack. And stupid John Silver is like, turn around. And he's all checking him out. And he's like, yeah, your milkshake must bring all the boys to the yard. And Warlord just like awkwardly is like, this is Max. I got to go. Bye.
I was confused. Like, are they insinuating that Warlord's gay? Because he's like, I'll call you guys later. Or call me later.
Maybe. I don't. Well, I think the whole thing is the fact that he's getting the attention because he never gets the attention because everything's on MJF. So I think that's what they're trying to insinuate more. Not so much that he's gay. It's just the fact that like he's actually getting compliments and likes it. But I could see where it could be that way too.
Like that's how I took it. I was like, oh, Warlord's gay? Like what? What happened? What's going on here? Like, you know, like he was just like, he was like, he's giving a weird look, but then he's also like enjoying it. But then he's like, call me later.
Yeah.
I was like, what? Like, what the fuck?
Yeah, that made me laugh so hard. But he's like, your milkshake must bring all the boys to the yard. Yeah. And then when he walks out, they're like, damn it, we forgot to ask him. They're like, oh yeah, we were blinded by his beauty that we forgot. Then from there, it cuts back to the Dark Order where Mr. Brody Lee's like, where's Colt Cabana? And then they do the parody reference about WWE's third party rule, which I totally forgot to mention that in All Out, they interview Kip Sabian and he does the same thing. He throws a jab at them because they had just passed Friday that that WWE wrestlers cannot use their wrestling name at third party places like Cameo, Twitch, and YouTube. They have to use their own name, which they backtracked originally because that Friday they said they couldn't even use their own names because WWE owned them. So then I guess the legal team looked at that and realized that was wrong because Monday they changed it to they just can't use their wrestling name anymore on like Twitch and YouTube channels and stuff unless WWE knows about it and they've approved it beforehand. So like up, down, down will still be like a channel. But the whole thing supposedly started because Lana got a sponsorship by Bang on her personal page. And she like put it, but the YouTube channel itself is her actual name because she's an actress and stuff when she's not a wrestler. But that's where they came up with the whole like you can't even use your own name because we own it because they were upset about that Bang commercial Or
She's the
sponsorship.
worst. Lana's the worst. I can't stand her. There's everything about her. She's just a shitty person.
Mhm.
Again, just like you can tell. Like I don't watch what's that show they have, the Diva show.
Mhm.
But you see little clips of it, and she's just a fucking drama queen diva. It's like I can't stand her.
Mhm.
But anyways,
Yeah, so that's where the parodies are coming from. I know on All Out when Kip Sabian was talking at the bottom, it said like this is a AEW approved promo or something. When he was talking about his Twitch feed, and they're like AEW approves of this third party,
message.
yeah,
It's an
third party
AEW
whatever.
message.
Yeah. So then that's where they show Evil Uno, and he's like, "Get off of Twitch," and Evil Uno's like, "I'm on Instagram." He's like, "Just get off of it, stupid." And then Alex and John Silver come in to announce the newest member of the Dark Order, which they hinted earlier in a couple of episodes in the past that they officially signed Sinbad to the Dark Order by playing a video that specifically, which I kind of thought about it now. It's actually a cameo video as on top of that. So it's another third party video.
Yeah. I think that was the whole joke about it was.
I just thought it was
Sinbad, but
that they like faked it and you knew that it was a cameo that he didn't really join.
Yeah.
And I just realized it said cameo, so that was the joke that they used his likeness on it. And he, of course, he was funny too. He was like, "I'm in the Dark Order, right? I'm doing this like hand thing and like Dark Order, so I'm gonna be in Dark Order now, right?" And then of course I love how he gives the credit to Alex and not John.
Yeah.
He tells him, "We got something for you to play." And he's like, "Alex, show me." And he takes the phone from John. He's like, "Why do you got glitter on your phone?" Because he has like cake with the glitter on it.
Yeah,
so I don't know if maybe that's leaning towards more that John's gay.
No, it just shows that he's just a goofball. He's a dumbass. He's just like, oh, maybe. Now that I think of it, maybe.
Yeah. Because maybe that's it. Because they were like, because I forgot what he says. What's the reason for the glitter case? But he's like, "Why do you got a glitter case?"
I think he says like, "Oh, on Amazon, I like it," or some shit like that.
Yeah. So then, of course, after that, to celebrate, Mr. Birdie also announces that he got Jungle Boy to come hang out. So then John puts his hand up and he's like, "What the fuck do you want?" And he's like, "That's not Jungle Boy. That's fucking Griff Garrison." So then they have Anna Jay come from behind and put him in a sleeper hold. And he passes out. So then they start cheering, and then he's like, "Everybody shut the fuck up." He's like, "Okay, go ahead and do what you want with him." So then they beat him up like a pack of hyenas, like eating a a dead carcass. So I thought that was pretty funny. And then, like I showed you earlier, they finally made a "Who the fuck is Griff Garrison" shirt. That's the Spider-Man meme with Jungle Boy and Griff Garrison on it. Which that shirt is hilarious. And that pretty much wrapped up BT. There really wasn't.
Well, you forget what's the part? Well, pretty much the end is.
Oh yeah, they all break up.
They go to Cracker Barrel.
Yes.
Like seems a little less or empty people, and then it just shows a picture of all of them at Cracker Barrel, but it's cracked.
Yeah, and I actually realized that I know they said they had stole the shirts, but I didn't realize till I watched it again the second time that they still had the security tags on the shirt.
Oh, they actually stole it? No, I don't think they actually stole it.
Well, no, but for the gift, because he's originally like, "Oh, look, they forgot to take it off," and I thought they meant that they forgot to take off the name tag. I mean, the price tag. But then when I was watching it on my big TV, there's actually the security codes on there, and there are security tags, and they were like, "Oh, they forgot to take these off," and that's what he's like, "Did we steal them?" And that's when it cuts to the run part, and they're running. Yeah, I'm pretty sure Crackle Barrel was in on it. But yeah, that because later they don't have it on the shirt when they're trying them on, but yeah, I thought that was funny. And then of course Matt was like, "Oh, is that showing his cleavage? Why is it showing his cleavage?" And they're like, "Oh, it's just a new shirt. It's a new design."
Yeah, it's design.
Yeah, and then of course it ends with the broken picture of all of them. I'm really surprised that they didn't well, I know why they didn't do it, but I'm surprised they didn't pick a picture with like Marty on there, maybe like blur his face out, but we all know why he's no longer mentioned anymore. He's dead to everybody for real.
Wait, is he? Because he got accused, right?
Yeah, he got accused too, and then he actually like kind of admitted it, but he was just like, "I'm sorry," and moved on. But every apology he made just made it worse. Like he apologized.
He said it was consensual, didn't he?
Yeah, but they're like she was still like I think 16 or 15, and then you're already like 25, 26 at the time. and then that supposedly like he knew the dad and like he messaged the dad and was like, "Hey, I'm sorry," and they're like, "You knew she was underage because you know the dad what's wrong with you?" Like every time he would try to like apologize, it would just get worse and worse, and they were just like, "Just stop, don't anymore." Which sucks for him because he just had that sweet Ring of Honor deal that now he lost. So
Oh, he did lose it?
yeah, well he stepped down. I think I don't think they actually fired him, but he more stepped down, so he's not there
Damn it,
anymore.
Marty.
It's all the English people messing it all up.
Yep.
So, of course, that leads us into Dynamite. I know we said we were going to talk about Dark, but nothing important happened. So, and for the sake of the show, we're going to go ahead and just jump to Dynamite. Of course, live from Daly's Place again. Do you think they're ever going to start, like here in the next couple of weeks, maybe actually going to actual locations? So you think they're just going to stay in Daly's Place?
I mean, why would they? Why? It's if they're making money, you know, because they can have some crowd. Why change it up?
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? They don't have to pay for a building or anything like that, so I wouldn't change it up. At least I wouldn't. And I still think it's a little too soon.
Mm-hmm. So rumors is that the company up north is going to, hopefully they're trying to buy Royal Rumble time to actually be with crowds in the arena. Yeah. So we'll see what that looks like, but they're going to base it on how the rest of the sports are doing. I sadly had to watch my Texans get murdered yesterday. But we got to see what a football stadium looks like at 20% capacity.
It looked pretty good. It looks all right. Mm-hmm. I mean, I didn't think it was spaced out properly yesterday,
mm-hmm.
but
yeah, especially the celebrity section that had The Rock and Arnold Schwarzenegger and the Queen, and somebody brought like a bunch of cardboard cutouts and like put them in a big old section, so it looked like there's people in that section. I know this week I think they said there's only going to be 2 football teams that are going to have fans in the stands, which is Jacksonville and then Kansas City. So the rest of the games will be empty. So we'll see how that plays out. I know Dallas is going to have fans in their stadium. I don't think the Texans are.
So Dallas, obviously, surprise, surprise. Well, I'm not going to say that. Anyways, Dallas, tickets.
Mm-hmm.
They're not selling them at all. So I guess it's only season ticket holders that will get to go, because you can't find any Dallas tickets online.
Yeah, well, I was gonna say, even if they're at 22% capacity, I'm gonna say at least like 30 to 40 is always season ticket holders anyway. So it would make sense, since they already paid for them anyway. It makes sense to give them the tickets and let them go. So we'll see what that turns out to. But back to Dynamite. This is the first episode since last year, when they first launched, to actually hit 1 million viewers on the episode. So it opens up with MJF and Chris Jericho pulling up to the arena at the same time. And they're both like sucking each other off, and then when they walk away, the camera shot shows each one individually, and they're like, "What a loser." Which is also funny because when the ratings came out, they both tweeted at the same time that they were like, "You're welcome" for the 1.6 million followers or views. So that was pretty funny. So we'll see where that goes. So jumping into the opening show, the first match was the Lucha Bros versus Jurassic Express in another good fast action match. It ends with Jungle Boy pulling the roll up on Pentagon, which after the match, for whatever weird reason, which I'm kind of okay with, they teased Rey Fenix and Pentagon splitting up. I really never have been much of a fan of Phoenix. I've loved Pentagon when he was in Lucha Underground. That's where I first found him with that match against Vampiro. That match is amazing, where Vampiro goes to that flaming table. Then you find out that he's like the one controlling Pentagon.
You're talking about the hardcore guy from TNA?
From WCW?
No. I'm talking about it's from BT. He's like, the hardcore guy from TNA?
Oh yeah.
So my mic was off because my dog barked. So I kind of muted it and I forgot to unmute it. But Yeah, I don't think anyone's. I mean, I think Pentagon is the more famous one
Mhm.
uh, between the two. So I agree. Like I'd rather see Pentagon than Ray Phoenix, even though I think Ray Phoenix is more athletic.
Mhm.
Uh, Pentagon's more of I believe like he's more he I see him more as a heavyweight, and then Ray Phoenix as a cruiserweight.
Yeah, you can put Serpentico and Ray Phoenix together if you want to keep a tag team.
Yeah,
The Lucha
that's true.
Brothers 2.0.
Yep, that's true. That's true.
But yeah, like they said, I don't think you're gonna see it just because whatever the name of Eddie Kingston, Butcher and Blade, and Lucha Brothers faction is, they just started, so it wouldn't make sense to split up. But I don't know if maybe they were just together for the sake of the Casino Battle Royale. So like maybe that's how you drop them off. But they were saying that it's probably just to show the leadership and the power that Kingston has, since he was able to get them to make up right there and then.
Yeah,
Um,
I don't know where they're going with this one, but
mhm,
I'm excited to see what they're gonna do.
mhm. Um, I really think I don't think we need another title, but I really think that MJF's ring should actually be like something to fight over. I've said that since the beginning. I'm thinking they should do it how um well, Lucha Underground would be the example. How you had like that one belt, and then like at any point you could cash the belt in for a title shot, and then they had to like recrown a new champion to be the new contender. I'm thinking maybe do that with the ring, like that you have to like maybe not for the world title, just because it's because then you may get some idiot who wins it that doesn't deserve it, but maybe like a TV title, like that's the way you get to the TV title, that you have to win the ring,
Yeah.
and then you give up your ring to get the title shot.
Yep.
Um, and then just work that way. That way you have constantly two worker belts that you can put on the show, and that way you don't have everybody just going for like the TV title, because pretty much the heavyweight title, unless it's just randomly for the sake of the storyline, you're normally not going to see that defended on the show, and so you're looking at 4 months before you get another actual legit title match. Why not have two working titles? I think that's probably why they had like the TV and the US title, for that reason, that like back in the day, because they knew that the heavyweight title was only going to be defended on the pay-per-view. So if you're going to do it that style, I'm fine with it, but you need to have like a second thing for them to go for it. I think the trios would be a good option as well, but I would like another singles thing to feud over, because like they're what's his name? Like maybe make it like I guess you can make it like I wouldn't say a cruiserweight title. It'd be more like something for the lower middle card. I guess the lower card to kind of fight over. Kind of the way like the light heavyweight title is for like the scabs.
I
Um,
don't I don't understand why they don't have an intercontinental.
yeah. Well, because the TV makes sense, because the TV time. Yeah, but yeah, like you said, maybe an international or a U.S. Japan title or something, and
They should just
then
have an interpromotional title that they can
mhm,
share.
yeah. I think that was probably what I would assume eventually happen, if New Japan would actually like would have worked out between them, like eventually, because I know they were starting to slowly fix that, bridge that gap before COVID started. So I would assume that eventually that bridge would have gotten mended, and then they would have gone back and forth that way. Um, which is the one thing I'm curious if they're going to bring up with the whole Murder Hawk and Moxley feud, was the fact that they were feuding for the U.S. title in New Japan before COVID started, and that I think Moxley had to forfeit in the Murder Hawk one, but they never actually like fought for the title. They did have like a blow off match, but then COVID hit, and they never like had a rematch off that blow off match.
Oh
So I
yeah.
wonder if that's something that they're gonna like hint to, since they hint about other wrestling promotions, or if they're just gonna be like, oh, they had fights in the past in other promotions, and leave it at that.
Someone asked that during the post show to Tony Schiavone. I forgot what his response was, but someone
Mm-hmm.
did ask that, like, "Are you guys going to acknowledge that they fought in New Japan?"
Mm-hmm. Which I don't see why not. I mean, they're acknowledging everything else, but you know.
I don't understand why they wouldn't. You know what I mean? Even the UFC does stuff. They're like, this person fought here, here, here. This person was this type of champion here, here. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
They don't try to hide it and be like,
Mm-hmm.
oh well, this company doesn't exist. No,
And then the way I see it is, if you're gonna promote your show as the best show, like even they're like saying that they're better than the WWE, then what's wrong with acknowledging them? Because at the end of the day, you're supposedly supposed to be the better product. So it's like, well, yeah, he wrestled in WWE, but what does it matter? He's over here now where it matters. Like same with like the UFC. That's how I feel like the UFC sees it. Like, oh yeah, they wrestled in Bellator and Pride, but at the end of the day, UFC's the company, so it doesn't matter where they fought before.
Yeah, I feel like all the other places like they do it anyways. I don't understand. Like I don't see it hurting.
Mm-hmm.
So
either way, you're still like, if you're getting mentioned on another show, you're still getting mentioned on another show. Like if you're like, and I guess that's why they don't want to mention them, because like if you're like, oh, Moxley used to wrestle on WWE, now you're gonna look up Moxley on YouTube, and it's gonna come out Dean Ambrose, and then you're gonna start watching like WWE shows. But
I mean, have you seen WWE lately? Would you?
Exactly, and that's where I'm like, if you're really that worried, like people who know who Moxley is are gonna already know he was there, and those who are getting introduced to him are gonna still Google him eventually and find out and look anyway. So it's like you're not really hiding anything by not saying he was a WWE guy. Now the whole like, which we'll get to in a minute, the whole like, oh well, WWE can suck my ass and shit. Like, okay, I get that, or like the references to them on a constantly like jab, I can see that, but I mean that's still the wrestler's past regardless. Like same with like a Sammy, like he trained at Booker T school. Like you're not gonna be like, oh well, he trained by a wrestler from a different promotion. Like no, it's just like he still trained at the Booker T school. People know who these legends are, so there's no point in trying to like hide where they come from or where they go. But back to the show, because I'm just rambling and ranting now. So back to Dynamite. After the Eddie Kingston cameo, and he also finished it by saying that he was never eliminated from the Battle Royal, which I have to relook that up because I never actually saw how he got eliminated.
He got thrown off the top into somebody, but I don't know if he went through the ropes. And then if he went through the ropes and then he got thrown out, I mean, technically that'd be true. But did Lance Archer step over the rope? So I don't know. I didn't watch that either. So.
I'll have to rewatch that and look at that. But Jake the Snake and the Murder Hawk were in, for some reason, in an alleyway that was raining. And they cut a promo on Moxley talking about go and play in the rain when it rains, and that Moxley was going to piss himself when Archer gets a hold of him. And of course, because at the end, everybody dies. Then we cut to Matt Hardy, who comes out and pretty much gives the public apology of everything that happened at All Out. I like how they forced his wife to be there too.
Well, I don't think they forced his wife to be there. Mm-hmm. I think what happened was his ass was still concussed, and someone needed to drive him down because he couldn't drive. So she was the one to drive down. And they said, well, since you're here, let's just incorporate it. Mm-hmm. I would tell this. I'm not married, so I don't know what it is to piss off a wife, but boy, I guarantee she was pissed off.
Oh yeah, well that's what I'm saying. Like it feels like it was forced for her to be on camera. Like, I mean, I'm pretty sure she still like opted in, but I'm pretty sure they were like, hey, you should come and stand there while he's talking, because before they even like they announced he was at the hospital, she was already like, only an idiot can see that he was wouldn't be able to see that he was concussed, and like shouldn't have continued. And then like the next day, I think she deleted it, and AEW was like, oh no, he was fine. There's nothing wrong. He was fine. We took him over there just to check. So that's where I kind of say where like she was kind of forced, where they're like, hey, come out on camera so that way everyone can see like you're okay with what's going on, and that even though like you were like bashing us, at least it shows that we're all on the same page because you're willing to come out on our show.
She's always been vocal though.
Mm-hmm.
Isn't she Puerto Rican?
I think so.
Yeah.
And then I forgot what he had said too. He said something, and like they cut to her, and she was like shaking her head, like
he pretty much said that it wasn't like he shouldn't have put his family through that, and as a father and a husband, like
Mhm.
that was unfair for them, which is true. I mean, he
Mhm.
shouldn't have. He's
Yeah.
being selfish, and
Mhm.
I mean, but as a competitor, I get it. I under
Mhm.
I understand it both ways because when I was playing football, you couldn't stop. You couldn't get me off the field. Like I was physically, if I'm not physically able to move or run, I would have gone off the field. So you need someone to protect me to get me off that field. It's just the mentality you have and the love for the sport. So I understand it from that point of view, but someone should have been watching out for his well being and someone should have stopped it. But
Yeah.
uh, who am I?
Especially because there's so many senior people working behind the scenes. I think Billy Gunn was probably was in the crowd, but I mean, there's still other like Dean Malenko. Why didn't Dean Malenko be like, hey, no, like as an experienced wrestler, that's probably not good. Let's go ahead and.
I mean, but think about it. I mean, it's Tony Khan's call because he
Mhm.
was in Aubrey's ear,
Mhm.
and apparently Tony was the one told him to stop the match at first, but then who told him to restart the match? So you know what I mean? Like you could say, yeah, maybe you should have, but
Mhm.
at the end of the day, it's the bosses. It's
Yeah.
like people, employees telling people now, hey, COVID's happening, maybe we shouldn't open. It's up to the boss at the end of the day, like what they're gonna do.
Mhm.
So
Yeah, and that's where I just feel like at the end of the day, it's the fact of, well, we have our booking already set, so how do we like work that? And they had less than 2 minutes to decide: do we continue? Do we let it go? And he's just like, screw it. If he's good to go, let him go. Um, but like you said, you totally could have had him lose and then just been like, okay, well, Matt Hardy's gone. Here's Matt Hardy version 2.0 or whatever he called himself, or like you said, Broken Hardy. Um, Again, because I know the whole reason he didn't want to do Broken Hardy is because there wasn't fans, and now like a week later, now there's fans. So it's like, okay,
yeah, because you could actually hear the delete chants
yeah.
this week.
So
All I'm saying is, AEW, if you're listening, hey, let me be on creative. I know you're on creative too, but I got you.
right, and I think that's funny where he's like, I'm gonna be a focus on the title now, and I'm like, isn't that what you're supposed to be doing this whole time?
Like, no, dude, like focus on getting healthy, bitch. Like,
Yeah, well, he's like, I'm gonna be healthy, but then when I come back, I'm gonna go for the title. And I'm like, shouldn't have been your goal. You're not in the tag team. Your brother's signed for another like 2 years, so shouldn't it make more sense? I mean, I get where he can go from like not being a manager anymore, but he wasn't officially a manager. He was still a wrestler that would just come out with them.
see, I saw more as a mentor.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't see him as a manager.
Yeah. So then from there, we jump into the squash match that is freshly squeezed versus Angelico. With the hybrid 2, which I forget is even in AEW at this point. I think the match was like less than 5 minutes. Um, After the match is over, Santana and Ortiz jump Cassidy, and then of course the best friends come out and save Cassidy, which leads to them challenging each other to a parking lot brawl for Trent's mom's van or something like that.
The beat up van.
Which is what I was kind of expecting for the pay-per-view. So I know they needed to fill up gaps in the battle royale, but that kind of seems like that could have been another match and maybe swapped out one of the other ones. But that's what we're getting next week on Dynamite there. So then one of my like second or third favorite part of the show, Alex Marvez, which I forget is even a waste of space on the team, awkwardly goes and knocks on the Young Bucks dressing room door to find out about what's going on with the Elite. After like 3 minutes of him awkwardly knocking on the door, they finally open. He asks them, what is the future of the Elite? And he ends up getting an invitation to a super kick party and gets super kicked. And then they just shut the door. And that's the end of it there.
They fucking kicked the shit out of him.
I love how the I forget, I think it was Brian Alvarez was talking about how it's funny how like only Excalibur and JR actually cared that he got super kicked, and the rest of the people were just like, okay. Like they're like, he's supposedly an official like AEW employee. They're all, Nyla Rose put the referee through the table, and she was suspended for like a month and fined. And the Young Bucks just got fined $5,000 a piece for super kicking Malvez, and they're like, I guess he's not that important to the
I know,
broadcast.
right?
Yeah. So yeah, later on the show they announced they both Bucks get fined $5,000, which of course we know is like $2 to them. Then it cuts to my favorite part of the show. So Kip Sabian teased in the pay-per-view that he was going to announce his best friend best man for his wedding on Wednesday, which I'm now going to say that Miro's going to marry Penelope Ford somehow in the wedding. So he comes out and teases everybody. He gets some fat guy, which I didn't know I was making a cameo in the episode that night. Named Puff. He comes out and tells them that he's not the best man. He just said that he was the best. And then Brian Pillman Jr. comes out next when he announces this is the best man. And he's like, I got your text. It says I'm the best man. And he's like, no, I said you're the best, comma, man. So finally.
It was his birthday. And he was like, yeah,
Oh, yeah,
you're the best man.
Like, I hope you have a shitty birthday.
Yeah.
And so finally, he's like, let's try this.
I will say this though. Before you get to that part, I thought they were gonna pull a WWE, and I was like, oh, they're not gonna follow through. It's just a stupid, like, you know what I mean? I was like, oh, this is gonna be annoying.
Oh, that. I was kind of thinking it was either gonna be somebody new, or that maybe it was whoever he was gonna feud with next. That was gonna be like like a Gilbert, somebody like that. That maybe it was like Joey Janela, but it'd be like a trans person or something. But yeah, so then he finally says, here's the guy. And of course, this is the time where the entrance music and everything actually works this time because it didn't work before. I couldn't figure out at first, and they do a really good camera angle to hide who it is while he's standing at the ramp. But then, as anybody who's been following everybody who's been released, the theme song gives it away by saying it's Miro before it cuts back to the front camera showing who else than Rusev himself, now referred to as Miro, as he walks into the ring, which made sense when he was saying that right before in the beginning of the whole promo, he says that the best man is somebody who he can relate to a lot while he twitches and streams. And that's the only non-signed wrestler that I know that twitches and streams. So I figured I was like, it has to be Miro unless there's somebody else, because the only other big name wrestling streamers AJ Styles and Xavier Woods, and I know they're not going anywhere. So that's where I figured that it was Miro. So he comes to the ring and gets Miro Day chants. As you can tell, he's trying to like hold back his emotions from the crowd being into it. And he had this to say.
Under the same glass ceiling with an imaginary brass ring, well, you can take that brass ring and shove it up your ass.
As he is telling his old employers that have coined the phrase the brass ring. So that was his take on it there. And then he did a behind the scenes thing on his YouTube page where he was talking about like the whole moment leading up to it. And he was he ran into, is it Blade, the one with the blonde hair? Because Butcher's the fat one, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's Blade that walks by and he's like, I didn't know I was stealing that guy's gimmick. He's like, he has the blonde hair and the black beard, so I guess we're gonna have to fight over who gets to keep the blonde hair and the black beard. And he just talks about how like everybody's like nice to him there and that he's really glad to be there. So then after that, after I fanboyed and yelled and screamed and grabbed my dog and swung around the house with my dog, Hangman Page was interviewed by Tony Schiavone, asking him about how he felt about losing. He kept talking about how it was his fault and that he cost the Young Bucks an opportunity because he was scared to face them again, and that they should have been in the match, and that he should have never lost the titles because they should have fought them again instead of fighting FTR, and that they just have to get back because the key word throughout the whole night is that the division is the best and stacked tag team division anywhere in the world. And that it took them a lot for not being a tag team to get to the ladder and be the champions. So now they have to just get back together and work their way back up the ladder. So that was Hangman's interview. Then it cuts to the no disqualification countout match between Chris Jericho and Jack Hager versus Joey Nutella and Sonny Kiss. Like I mentioned earlier in that pre-show, it was to help build Joey Janela up as a little bit more credible wrestler, I guess, because he had a win streak going. This is also a rubber match from last week when Jericho destroyed Joey Janela in that squash. It was an okay match. They're going back and forth, and then Hager ends up beating Sonny Kiss with a head and arm suplex to get the win after Jericho said that he's bored. So him and Hager are now going to be a tag team and going for the titles. Again, running off the theme of the night of the tag team division being the best and stacked tag team in all of the world. So how do you feel about Jericho jumping into the tag team division now?
Smart move. Smart move. Just because what else can you do with Jericho right now? Nothing. You know what I mean? I think that was a smart move.
I really think he should have done it with Sammy though.
I think they had something in store for Sammy. I think that's why. And with Jericho would be the muscle. You know what I mean? If it was Sammy. Mm-hmm. So you need the muscle, which is Jake Hager is perfect. And then Jericho can kind of... Jake Hager, he's not good on the mic either. So yeah, Jericho was perfect on the mic. Sammy's pretty good on the mic. Mm-hmm. So I think it was a good... it was good.
I just want Sammy to be singing Jericho's theme song like every time.
I know. Like, I don't know why they stopped that.
I guess because now they have the crowd, so the crowd can do it, and I guess that was like...
Still, the part of it was hilarious.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone enjoys that.
Yes. So then from there, we jump to MJF at his headquarters, talking with his whole team, firing everybody because they lost, blaming them all. And then I forget the name of the secretary, but she's finally smiling. Yeah.
Nina.
Yeah, and he's like, Nina, you're finally smiling after all the times I've been trying to get you to smile. So then he fires everybody. So then Warlord gets in his face. Because I forget what he tells him right before, but then he goes ahead and puts him back in.
He tells them that Tony Khan didn't sign you. You're not employed by Tony Khan. You're employed by me. Remember that.
Oh yeah. So then he gets in his face, and then MJF, like always, puts him back in this place with this clip here.
Anyone in their right mind after this Saturday would have fired you, but not me, Wardlow, because I'm the only person on this planet who sees your potential. I'm the only person in this planet who cares about you. Quite frankly, I'm your only friend. So I'd appreciate it if you got it together. Because if you don't, I'm going to have to put you and your whole family out on the street. So I ask again, do we have a problem? Oh, good. Because for a second there, I thought we did.
Again, planting the seeds for the split. I say let's have him leave MJF and go join Miro, and they can be this super dominant, destructive tag team, just destroying everybody. But yeah, so that's where it's kind of even funnier because it's like did Dark Order help plant the seeds more with their bid on BT earlier in the day before or 2 days before. So that's a good storyline that to keep an eye on as that's progressing and growing. I don't know if they should pull the trigger on him on the split yet.
I don't think they will.
Mm-hmm.
I think they're gonna do it after he gains the title and then he gets too cocky, and that like Warlow's gonna be the reason why he wins the title, and then MJF's gonna be like, no, you had nothing to do with it. It was all me because I'm the best.
Yeah. So then from that, we come back from another commercial break, and we get the new tag team champions coming out with a celebration filled with cake and beer. And pretty much it was just them doing their heelish antics and just bashing everybody, talking about how SCU would make great opponents if they were... they're glad they finally got to wrestle them, but if they would have been able to wrestle them like 20 years ago when they were in their prime, that they don't know if they would have been able to beat them. Then he talks about Billy Gunn and how Billy Gunn is a legend and a multiple tag team champion, but don't think that him and his son are just gonna get a title shot just because he's has all these championships. Then I love when they're like private party. Yeah, it's just private party. Let's go ahead and keep going. And then it helps set up the Jungle Express versus FTR next week. Talking about that they were, I forget what he tells them. But Luchasaurus gets upset, gets in the ring, and then they're supposedly saying that if Jungle Express can beat FTR, then they would be in line for a tag team title shot, which I don't know how that works if they just lost the Young Bucks at All Out. So wouldn't technically the Young Bucks still be the number one contenders if Luchasaurus and Jungle Boy beat them? That again goes back to why rankings are stupid in AEW. And then Marco Stunt hands the cooler he just dumps the cooler on FTR to end the skit there. And then all the tag teams go back into the ring and eat cake, and that's the end of the segment. I think they could have done it without everybody going out there. It's kind of dumb. They could have just had them just call everybody out when they're doing their promo, and they just have Jungle Express come out and take them on. But whatever, it's different, I guess.
Yeah, everyone just stood there and took it, and they're the ones that actually did something. You're stupid. Doesn't make any sense.
I thought it was still gonna set up the Young Bucks. I thought like they were gonna come out and like ruin the party, but they just like nothing. So I was like, okay. So then from that segment, we go to another commercial break. There's a lot of segments in this show today, or this episode. So then Taz joins the commentary team. As he's sitting there, he says, "We have a ruckus in the back. Do you not hear the ruckus coming through your headset?" And they were like, "No, we don't know what you're talking about." So then at that point, Darby Allin's music hits, and he's like, "Oh, that's what it was. It was Darby Allin," which of course comes out Team Taz's Darby Allin and absolute Ricky Starks. So he comes out again and is cosplaying and talking about how he's all banged up and he's relentless because he broke his pinky. He broke his finger or something like that. And that the next time that he sees him, he's going to beat Darby Allin's ass. And that's pretty much the end of that segment as well. Like I said, this show had a lot of segments. Then the next actual match we have is the Man Beast Nyla Rose versus Tay Conti, the freshly signed Tay Conti.
God,
and I'm 100% sure she got hurt.
I don't think she. So I was thinking that too, but there's a segment with the Dark Order later that they try to recruit her, and it's like bad timing, guys. But she seemed fine. I mean, I looked it up on Twitter. She seemed fine. She was just like, she acknowledged she got hurt, but she didn't like.
I would say maybe it was a stinger, but there was some like.
Well, she was holding her knee. That's what I was concerned.
Yeah, and then I was like, the one thing that kind of like didn't make. I was like, the one thing that kind of made me think it was a legit injury was the fact that at the end, Sheeta's like carrying her to get her out, but the announce team just completely ignores it. And I'm like, if it was something that was a work, they would have been like, oh, well, I think she hurt her knee in the thing, so Sheeta has to help her out and to save her from Nyla Rose doing more damage to that knee or something. So that's where I don't think it was. That's where I thought it might have been a legit thing, but it could have just been like a bruised knee or something, and that's why they're not making a thing about it.
I don't know, honestly. I was trying to rewatch it and see where she might have heard it, and I couldn't see where she might have heard it.
I think because she goes for the Beast Bomb for the win, and I think at that point, I think she like landed like on Nyla landed on her body and the knee at the same time, where it just like hit off the canvas.
It looked like she landed straight on her back. I didn't see it. I watched it over and over. I'm like trying to see because that's my boo. That's my boo right there. I make sure my boo's okay.
So that's where I was like, they might not have said it because they might have been, but then after everything checked out, she might have been fine. But I think she thought she might have really gotten hurt there. But thankfully, she hasn't because they haven't said anything. So I'm assuming she's fine, which is a good thing because that would suck that you sign and then the first match you get hurt. Yep. So then again, like I mentioned, they covered that the Bucks got fined, and then I love the contrast of these interviews because they actually changed it out with Hangman being with Tony, and then Kenny interviewing with JR. So then they ask Kenny what's next for him, what's he gonna do. So he's like, the division is too deep. And 2-page, if you haven't followed it yet, 210 Culture, where we put these out. Now that we make them Saturdays from the bottom, regardless when we don't want to waste. So we'll have them out like every Saturday. 9 months of doing it all over again
for you guys
so that he thinks it's time to go back to singles action. So thank you for tuning in for episode 2 of the Cholo and the Chino. Kenny, IMG the Chino moment as of right now.
Mike the Cholo,
and we will catch you guys, which is fine, next week. I
I
kind of want to see more of Hangman, and of course, as champions, unless you're Cody, you really don't get much actual wrestling, just semi screen time. So I kind of like it. I don't know how I feel about the anxious millennial cowboy gimmick that they're gonna try to swing to now. But definitely on turning him babyface, I do see the sympathy coming in there.
I don't know how it's gonna play out. Honestly, I'm hoping. I don't know. I think that obviously, where do you go from Hanger from here if he's out of the league? You know, he's gonna be. You make him like a major baby face. You make him more title. Like we'll see. We'll see where it goes because I don't know.
I kind of can see where they can turn this into a Brody Lee Hangman because of BTE, where they're always like fuck Hangman and fuck Hangman. So maybe like they can work an angle where he finally like watches the episodes and realizes like they've been talking crap about him this whole 3 months that they've been like fuck Hangman. So maybe they can use that, and then the fact that he originally wanted to join, where there's the whole episode where he's like, I was gonna join you guys and you never responded back. So maybe he watches like that episode and realized that they were like, he's a fucking loser. And then he just kind of like, well, I'll take y'all on. And then that could work because you can have him, in a singles match go up against all 10 members of Dark Order, working their way up to where he eventually ends up taking on Brody Lee for the title and then taking the title from there. And he can run with that belt while Moxley stays on top. And that'd be a good storyline. And that draws you at least, 2.5 months because there's 10 of them. So I could see that, but it's just transitioning from that to there. And then maybe he wins because Cody comes and causes Brody Lee the match when Cody finishes his recording, and that's how he wins the title. And then from there, you can take the feud over to Cody and Hangman after and give it a direction after that. Or have they haven't done a triple threat yet, so maybe have Brody Lee, Cody, and Hangman in a triple threat. So there's things you can do with that. It's just if that's the direction they want to go is the question.
Yeah.
And then of course finishing the match is the I skipped that part. So apparently the Murder Hawk and Moxley match is going to occur October 14th on the anniversary edition of Dynamite. So that means Moxley's going to win.
Oh gosh.
So there's that. I didn't see that part on the show, but apparently that's a thing. So then the main event, it was Brody Lee versus Dustin Rhodes in the title match. One of the criticisms I heard online, I don't remember who said it. I think it was Brian Alvarez too, is that the only issue they had with this match is that Cody got no offense in and got destroyed, but yet Dustin could get some moves in on Brody Lee. They're like, so you're telling me that Dustin's better than Cody? But yeah, he goes through, hits all the new moves, the Canadian Destroyer, of course. Tries to get a near fall with the Crossroads. Even hits him with the quote unnatural kick, which is the Shattered Dreams, but the AEW version of Shattered Dreams. And Brody Lee wins. Colt Cabana comes out to celebrate with him. And he tells him to go back and get the hell out of the ring. And then they bring in QT Marshall and drop him in the middle of the ring, too, to end the show with Mr. Brody Lee carrying with the belt over his head. So that was the show. Like I said, lots of promos, not so much wrestling. But I think it was an interesting show. I liked it. Like I said, it hit 1.6 million viewers. Now that NXT had to switch to Tuesdays again. So I think if they end up staying permanently in Tuesdays, I think that might be good for viewership on AEW. But yeah, I think they need to. I think it was a good show overall.
Are they doing that because of the U.S. Open?
Hockey. USA has the hockey playoffs.
Oh.
And then AEW has the NBA. So
yeah.
next week, maybe on Wednesday and maybe on Thursday. It actually depended on the playoffs, which I think it depended on the Lakers Rockets, which didn't the Lakers like sweep last night, I think.
No, they're up 3-1.
Oh, okay. Well, I think if they win over the weekend, then it's back on Wednesdays. But they said just to keep a lookout until they can decide.
Yeah.
Which I don't understand why they don't just push them to TBS. Like, have the same day, but just change it to a different channel. And then just on the basketball game, be like, if you're looking for Dynamite, switch over to TBS. Because TBS does not have new shows. They're just like reruns.
I think TBS is a different... I don't think it's worked like that anymore. Like how it used to be where TBS... Because Ted Turner doesn't own...
yeah, AOL owns all of them now.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, they do it for March Madness. Like when a game was running in overtime, they're like switch to True or switch to TBS.
Well, because they have a deal with them.
Mm-hmm.
That's why they have a rights deal.
Well, they're still all together. I mean, I know they're not.
Well, the NCAA has a deal with them. That's why they can do that.
Oh.
Yeah. I don't think AEW's deal had TNT. I think it was just strictly just TBS. I think it was just strictly TNT.
No. Well, still. They need to say the same date so it doesn't get weird. But yeah, so that's the show. So we'll be back next week for our review of next week's Dynamite and BTE. And finally, it'll be a light load because we won't have two big shows to cover. And it won't be almost 2 hours long. So thank you guys for tuning in and follow our